Mitra, I'm excited to get into this topic with you today, the wisdom of the body and body awareness. This has had such a profound impact on my life, and I know that it's a big part of your own journey. Let's open this up for our listeners, and let's start with providing some clarity on what we mean when we say the wisdom of the body.
I think the best way for me is the simplest way, that there's a knowing that exists within body that I can access to help myself to feel the way I want to feel. So wisdom is really deeper than knowledge. It's the know-how of how to use the knowledge. And body has that. It's like it's built in. It's like a manual there. Instead of me figuring it out through many, many years of suffering, I can actually access this manual and see if there is a better way of doing things. So the simplest way is that, to understand that there is knowledge, there is knowing, which is the application of the knowledge, and I have access to that.
Yeah, I love that, and that resonates with my understanding of it. And the way I have seen it is the body I see is it's neutral. It doesn't have an opinion. It's not biased, right? So whatever is happening in the body is an unbiased representation of my inner experience of what's happening in my mind. I love that perspective of the body because it doesn't take sides, you know? And that's really helpful when we're wanting to find our center and to ground.
That's true. And in fact, the whole life is actually like that. Life is neutral. It is what interpretation and what information we give it. And then we think life is this way or that way. So yes, body is completely neutral. It's a translation and informational tool. Really, that's what it is. And when we ask it, we benefit from that knowledge. It's almost like a mirror for us. My body says to me how I am feeling. I mean, the feeling is mine, or the thoughts are mine, or the experiences are mine. But my body is telling me in a more tangible way. And that's the beauty of body, because body is physical, is tangible, and I have physicality. So there is the invisible aspect of me, then there's the visible aspect of me. And when I connect to the visible, I understand the invisible. I realize the invisible. And there is nothing more visible than our bodies. In fact, that's our address, if you like, on earth. I mean, if somebody wants to connect with this entity I call Mitra, this is the address. The body is the address.
You know, right now when I say it, it seems so obvious, but there was a time in my life where I was really unaware of what was happening in my body, and at times unaware. I might have been angry about something or sad about something, just feeling an unease, but totally unaware of what was going on. And there were moments where my mind might think that everything is okay, but my body is telling me something different. And I wasn't aware of that. So now I'm able to pause. If my mind is kind of running really fast and I'm on go mode and there's just a subtle unease and my mind is telling me everything's fine, just keep going. I take a moment to pause. And if I pause and I'm feeling tension and tightness in the body, there's something going on. You know, there's something unresolved going on. And for me, it's been a great way to calibrate when I'm off center and to find my center again.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So if between your body and your mind, if your mind says, no, no, it's okay, no problem, and your body says, no, just leave, this is not going well, which one would you believe?
I listen to the body every time now because my mind has opinions, my mind has perspectives, my mind has
Uh,
beliefs, you know, that
Agenda.
it has an agenda that often, you know, I've observed experientially. This is not an intellectual thing, that is almost never anchored in truth. And now I always believe the body. I've learned, and this has been a long process for me. It's been a journey to
Yeah.
trust the intelligence of the body and also to clear a lot of the noise in the body, right? But now there's enough clarity in my body and there's enough awareness about what is a real signal of my body versus a signal of my mind to know what I can trust. And I listen to my body every time, almost every time.
Good
Almost
correction.
every time.
Very good correction, because we're not
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, so this is a good time to actually, well, first of all, I wanted to put a PS on what you said, because I know what you mean, because we've talked about this, but when we're talking about the mind having an agenda, we're talking about the survivalist, frightened mind. There is a bigger mind. There is a more connected mind, aspect of our mind. That's not what we're referring to. We're referring to this frightened, survivalist thinking mind that normally feels the fear or portrays things as fearful. So that's what we were referring to. But I really want to take just a one breath pause and invite everyone, including you, our listeners, to just ask yourself how connected you are to your body. And do you, between your mind and your body, listen to your body? And there's no right or wrong answer. This is not a test. It is just to really recenter ourselves and ask ourselves, have I listened to my body recently? Because there's a lot of wisdom. And the best part of, I think, our conversation so far was what you said, Ben, that body is neutral and mind is biased. The frightened mind is biased, has an agenda, but the body is neutral. Its only job is to assist us to experience physicality and give us information. So that's a huge difference between the frightened mind and the neutral body that is there to serve us and communicate with us. So just let's take a breath together and see where everybody is at. Mm, yeah,
Thank
quick
you for
cleanse.
doing that, Mitra. It's always that's been the key for me, taking a moment to pause and tune in to the body. One thing that I was reminded of was clarifying that yes, the body is neutral, and yes, I listen to the body, but the body is also, as a neutral instrument, responds to our mind. So if my mind is fearful, even if that fear is irrational, the body is neutral. It's just going to mirror what is happening in my mind. And so I'm going to feel fear in my body. It doesn't mean that that fear is anchored in truth. It's just pointing to the fact that
Fear is here.
fear is present. There are thoughts that are creating fear, and I'm feeling that in the body. So I wanted to make that distinction because I can see, for those of you listening, how it might be confusing at times if we take everything the body says as absolute truth. Yeah.
Yes. And so this is a more recent part of science, actually. When I say recent, I don't mean yesterday, but I mean like in past 50 years or so, that there was an understanding and an agreement that mind influences the body. And what we now know, that this is a two-way freeway, that body also influences the mind. And that's why not only can we connect with the wisdom of the body and ask it what's going on, the awareness of the body, but we can also use it to alter the state of mind and hence our feelings. So these three are very important. And I personally am speaking at a very, very practical level, because I'm not a scientist and I can't speak from the scientific point of view, but I know that science has backed the teachings that I do, which is this, that there is a relationship between the mind, the feelings or heart, and the body. But the body, actually, I said something and I want to correct that. We said it's neutral. It is neutral, but it has a job. And its job is to balance, bring everything into balance. So at any given moment, every cell in our body is seeking balance. And when I listen to it, and that's why we see that in nature, bodies, meaning many animals, actually reset themselves and repair themselves. I recall very vividly as a child that I used to somehow be interested to play with lizards, little lizards, probably because it frightened the hell out of all the other children and I just wanted to be different. So I
I
just,
love lizards too. That's
there you
amazing.
There you go. I would play with them and I would just love their, movement. And what I also noticed that some of them, like one of them literally in front of me, lost their tail. And then, because they were like in the corner of our backyard, we had put a box around them, they grow their tails. So I always wondered since childhood, if this intelligence that has created our body, whatever you believe in, I'm not going to argue with that, can regrow a tail for a lizard, why can't it help me regrow a limb or repair a cell in my body? What's stopping it from doing that? So that's when we talk about the intelligence as the wisdom that body holds, because body comes with that information, but also it is seeking balance within itself. Balance meaning health and full functionality. That's what balance is in the body. So it's a very fascinating world when we get into the wisdom of the body.
Yeah. And so tapping into the wisdom of the body with body awareness, let's clarify what body awareness is, Mitra. What is it for you? When we say
Mm,
body awareness, what does it
mm.
mean for you?
For me is that body is actually a friend. It has something to tell me. I sit with it and I ask it. So I ask a lot of questions. My body, for instance, by its disposition, the way it is situated itself, because it decides, I may sit straight and then while I'm talking and I'm not aware of it, I see that my body has gone more to the right or to the left. I literally would evaluate whether or not I wanted to work with a new client when I saw them in person, because I would read my body. I would center my body very properly towards them, looking at them in the middle of my chair. And I would find my body either going away from them or going towards them. And for the first session, I would really spend a lot of attention on awareness on that. And if my body kept going, not that because they were bad or they were not good people, but it wasn't a good match for me to work with them, I would ask my body and my body would talk to me. And it's amazing that how clear it was. And when I didn't listen to it, it actually showed me that it was right. So one is to listen to the disposition of it, the location of it, the gesture, if you like, of it. The other way I look at it is reading the sensations of it. Because when I have tightness and when I have heat, when I have coldness, especially when it's more than like average, that always tells me, it goes back to what you were saying, that those freeways exist between the mind and the heart and the body. So I allow the senses, I connect to the senses, and I feel something is going on. The moment there's no emotion and there is no thought, and these are connected, of course, in my view, that doesn't have a translation in my body. So those sensations born out of those thoughts and emotions tell me a lot. And then three is just sitting. So one is their disposition. Two is reading the available sensations, and sensations are all the five senses. It's like asking it, tell me what you know. That's when the translation comes in. So I see that I connect to the tightness, for instance, in my shoulders. What is this experience of tightness telling me? And that asking it, one is observing it, two is sensing it, and three is asking it. What are you telling? What are you here to tell me? And I don't know if the answers are like exactly what they are, but the fact that I ask it, the fact that I'm even tuned into asking at my body and connecting to its wisdom, that alone opens a door that it's on the right path for me. And as I walk deeper and deeper into it, my knowing and my information sort of grows there. So that's how I use it. How about you?
For me, it's very similar. I love the way you broke that down. The disposition of the body. Where's my body and locality? How's my posture? Am I slouched? Am I wanting to kind of curl in? Or am I opening my chest and I'm feeling that? And the sensations, that's one that I really relate to as well. And in the beginning, I remember when I started becoming aware of the body, I didn't even have the vocabulary to define, hot versus cold, or, it's tight here. It was just general unease, becoming aware of just general unease in the body. And I remember there was a time when I was working with people and they'd be like, oh, well, is it hot? Is it cold? Is it prickly? Is it? And I would be like, what are you talking about? I don't feel any of that. I just feel uneasy in my chest, and I think even that is so powerful, right? Just being aware, like, okay, I'm feeling tightness in my chest in general. Yeah, so being aware of the sensations. And then the last one you mentioned was about communicating with the body. And I love that too. I love that. Yeah, using the body as a something that has intelligence that can communicate with you. And this was another thing when I started to do this, when I was guided to do this, I thought it was crazy. It's like, what do you mean talking to a part of my body? But when you truly give it a chance and you talk to this part of the body, that's where the body has wisdom, and it's neutral, so it'll tell you exactly how it feels or what it's thinking. And it's really holding some part of our psyche, really, our subconscious minds and its thoughts are held in our body. So much wisdom there, so much
Yeah.
wisdom there.
I used to teach a mindful movement part of a course at UCLA. And mindful movement basically meant that asking your body what you want to do. Because with dancing, where the mind, and this is so fascinating when I explained this, so what's the difference between a dance? And I said, with dance, mind dictates to the body because it has a purpose again on that agenda. I want to look good. I want to look coordinated. I want to impress the audience. With the mindful movement, you ask your body. And it was fascinating that every time I said that in a class, they would say like, I don't know. Like, it's like, I always say, the day I met my body, it's just like we haven't met our body yet. My body, or there was another version of that my body lived a few blocks away from me.
Yep, I definitely
And it was just
relate to
that.
that.
I know. And we all do that. And we all had that experience, at least most of us. And so I would say, ask your body. And it was a foreign language. So I'm sorry, Mitra, I don't understand what that means. And so we would go into really small kind of practices and say, okay, tell me, how do you feel right now? And just connection to the sensation, because that's more obvious. And then asking it was a very, very foreign experience. And then when you ask the body how it wants to move for mindful movement purpose, it wasn't that impressive most of the time. I couldn't impress people by my mindful movements like I would do with my dance, but it was so liberating for the body.
Yep.
Sometimes it was just just moving my shoulders. As I said, it probably looked a bit crazy almost.
Yeah.
Or I remember there was an amazing person. I think he was the oldest person in the class. He would go on the floor like a fetus and just like really, close himself to feel the safety probably
Mm.
that we talked about when we were chatting about this session. And then as I watched him throughout the class, it opened and opened, and then he started sort of like flowing in the air
Mm.
and just moving his hands.
Yep.
It was just beautiful evolution throughout the class to watch people and see how they use their body to move and listening to their bodies.
Yeah, yeah, and honoring where it's at that moment. Getting
Mm,
into a fetal position, I remember as a guy, I would be like, that's weakness, right? I would perceive that, and it's like I would judge it and label it.
yes,
But that's what the body wanted to do at that time, and it's incredible how much opens up when we honor whatever it is, no matter how crazy or weird it may seem that our body's wanting to do in that moment. When we honor it, then that energy moves and opens up and it translates into something else. Usually, when we do it and we're fully honoring the process, it leads us to more openness
yes,
and a sense of freedom and a sense of joy and
yes.
spontaneity.
And it takes the thickness of the experience out, no matter how simple. I went for a test yesterday and I had to be in certain position for a while. And I gently asked the person who was doing it, I said, may I have a pillow? Because I was lying down. And he said, no, not for your head. I said, no, I just want to place it between my knees so that I'm comfortable in this position. You said it's going to be 25 minutes. That simple thing made that experience so comfortable. I actually was resting as they were doing this ultrasound, and it was just so comfortable. But something as simple as that, asking your body, what do you need, my friend, right now? And very rarely it is to move to Paris. And mostly is, I need a warm drink. Can you ask for a cover? Put something in your back. Your knees need support. I'm a bit chilly. Like, these are the answers, at least in my
Or I
experience.
just need to move. That's
I
an
just
often
need to
one for
move.
me. If I'm
Exactly.
feeling tense and I've been sitting the whole
Yes.
time and I'm feeling
Just move.
anxious, my body
Yes.
wants to move. I need to go
Yes.
for a run, or I just need to shake it off and
Yeah.
dance, or just whatever,
Or,
exercise.
or open the window.
Play.
I need some oxygen. I need some free, you know, air. I just need something that is open and is fresh, and these windows are closed, and there's not enough oxygen. So there's a really simple answers. And you're right with the movement. I've told you I have a trampoline, one of these like one individual trampolines. You won't believe how useful they are between clients. I usually leave space or classes if I'm teaching or training. I just go to the other room and I jump up and down on them. Everything goes to the right place. And it's just like that movement is really, really helpful for me to recenter myself. Because sometimes we think recentering is always being quiet and sitting still. And sometimes it's actually opposite of that. If we've been sitting still, it's movement and bringing a sort of a bit of a hype to your breathing instead of calming down. So it's really useful to ask that question. And it's a gentle question. Hi, hello, body. What would make it comfortable for you right now? Nobody minds if I got up and got some warm water, or if I asked for a cushion, or I covered my feet when they're cold, or I said, I'll be back. I'll just gonna go around the block and be back in 5 minutes.
So, Mitra, you and I were talking, and I had shared with you what I perceive as like the three categories of how we can use body awareness and body wisdom. And one was healing, using body awareness in our healing journey. We've all had traumas along the way in our life, and we can use the wisdom of the body to assist us with that process, and tools that use the body to assist us with that process. And then there's using body awareness to help us recenter and reset. It's more of a short term thing. I'm feeling off my center today. What is something I can do? What is my body calling me to do to help bring it back into my center? And then the third one is tuning into the body's intelligence to assist us with decision making, that gut feeling, and honing that ability to distinguish what is a signal, a true signal versus noise. And that's really powerful, right? When we can start to make decisions from both an intuitive place and combine it with, rational reasoning, intellectual understanding, it's super powerful. Let's open up the first one a little bit. Body awareness on our healing journey.
Yeah, I think we can do one episode only on each of these categories, because you're right, these are very deep subjects, but in a very general sense is really what we talked about, that our emotions, our heart and our mind are connected to our body. And I don't know where to start, because emotions are energies. They're like, where do I meet my energy? But I can work with a tangible translation of them, which is my body. So let's say I'm feeling frightened, and my body is telling me that I'm feeling frightened by the way I'm sitting, by the way I am. And and that's where self hugs came from. That's where all those things that we do with our bodies in the world of consciousness came from. So when I comfort my body, I start the process of healing, because I can't heal if I continue to experience what took my body into a unhealed place. So I can't heal when I'm feeling unsafe. But if I do something physically that indicates and communicates to my mind and heart that I am safe right now, then I can actually start the process of healing. This is at the very, very surface level, of course. Then you can actually use it. And I know that you've done a lot of work in that area, that you use it to really heal long-term traumas and dramas that you've experienced. You want to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, what you were pointing to is what nervous system regulation, and that has been so key to my journey, is learning how to regulate the body. You had mentioned earlier in the episode that it's a two-way street. The body responds to the mind, and the mind responds to the body. And nervous system regulation is really a way of using the body and doing things with the body as a way to communicate to the mind that you're safe, that everything's okay. We've gotten so used to being in fight or flight mode. And that mode is a continuous stress and strain on the nervous system. And my journey was to first become aware that I was dysregulated. I didn't know I was dysregulated before. It was my baseline, right? So that awareness that we were speaking of earlier, um, to know that, okay, my body is feeling tense, tight, it's not regulated right now. Learning very simple techniques to regulate the nervous system. And two of my favorite ones. One was with breath, and it's the box breath, very helpful for me. And the second one was physical touch for myself. Box breathing is very simple. We're not going to get into the details of how to do the technique here. You can look it up. There's a lot of videos online, but very simply, it's a way of counting your in breaths, the pauses in your breaths, and the exhales and the pauses that follow in a fixed count. And you do it very slowly. Slowness was really important, and slowness actually, which goes with gentleness, has been key to this whole journey for me. But that was wonderful because I could do it anywhere. I could do it while I was driving. I can do it even while I was having a conversation with someone. I can do it anytime. Super easy. I just slow down my breath and I count them. And it had a really profound impact on just when I'm feeling dysregulated, bringing me back to my center. And then the physical touch as well was really powerful. We had talked about this in one of our previous episodes, but just the act of taking my hand and gently caressing the side of my head and grazing my ears, I don't know why, it just sends like a really strong signal to my body that, like, okay, you're saved, you're loved, it's
I can tell
okay.
you why.
Or I would caress the sides of my arms, again, really slow, and it was really helpful for me when I was feeling dysregulated, stressed, super anxious, in calming me down. Is there, what would you add to that?
Well, I was just going to say that yes, that's true, and also the fact that you are balancing. I mean, we talked about masculine and feminine energies in our previous episodes, and that is actually when I'm feeling frightened. Touching brings the feminine, healthy feminine energy to the body, and immediately allows it to balance that unhealthy um, experience that I'm having, which is fear. So it makes sense. Yeah. So how would you use it then for, so this is probably the same for resetting when you feel like it's not healing, but it's just understanding initially that I'm going off my balance, basically.
No, it's actually key to the healing journey. So, um, some context of my journey might be helpful here. So, my whole awareness of the body and the wisdom of the body started with Vipassana. Okay. Some of you who are listening may have heard of Vipassana. It's basically it's a Buddhist technique that involves being aware of sensations in the body. And I did that, and I did it religiously for a year, a little over a year, and it helped, but a little bit. And I was feeling a lot of sensations in the body, but I was getting dysregulated. This is what I learned: is that we store traumas or pains and whatnot in the body. And if I'm going to go into the body and start feeling things, if I don't have a way of regulating my nervous system as I do those things, then it's not very effective. For me, this was my journey, and it could be different for everybody. But having that tool, it wasn't until I learned the tool of nervous system regulation that I was really able to go a little bit, you know, deeper into feeling the body and using the body's awareness and somatic therapy as a tool for healing. It was the first step. The next step was also, it was really helpful for me to have a vocabulary around it. Um, Understanding for me what anger felt like in my body, what sadness felt like, what general anxiety felt like, because it was no longer this weird unease that I just didn't understand that I was feeling in my body. I could identify it and I can name it. And when I can name it, it allowed me to feel it with more space and understanding and compassion.
I just wanted to make a point before we move on for those who are listening and maybe a fan of Vipassana. Vipassana is more than just body awareness, but we were just talking about this part of Vipassana. So just clarifying, we're aware that Vipassana is far more than just being aware of the body
Thank you
sensation.
for clarifying that. By the way, Vipassana is very, very powerful. It's incredible. It had a profound impact on me. It had a profound impact on me. There's no doubt. I just had, me personally, I had some missing tools in my toolkit to
Yeah.
help me
Well,
fully
it's a
benefit from it.
foundation for mindfulness training. Basically mindfulness was based on Vipassana, except without the Buddhism teachings. And it is very important when we become aware. Now, what do I do with it? Because it's like opening a wound and then understanding what do I do with it. So where we learn our the simple principles of mindfulness or vipassana, as you called it, is important because it's not just the information, but it's also what do we do with it once I connect with my body and I become aware of all the discomfort or imbalances that are there. What do I do with it? So just wanted to make that point because I could just hear our listeners thinking, Vipassana is not just that, I did it and I changed my life. And I said, yes, I'm a teacher of that, but also there is this specific aspect. So now tell me about the decision making aspect. How do you use it to, and I know how you do it, but I would love for you to share it with our listeners because I think that's a um, important tool that we can all use when we're not sure
It
what to do.
For me, it took a while for me to start using it for that because for so long there was so much noise in my body. Anytime I'd feel into my body, it was just unease, tension, anxiety. The idea of tuning into my body's intuition, it was just totally foreign to me and didn't even make sense because there's just tension and fear, and I didn't trust it. And it wasn't until I did a sufficient amount of the healing work, and when I started to develop the vocabulary and name things, and then to give a channel for that energy to move within me. Right now, I had tools. I understood when I needed to move. I did learn things like EFT tapping. I did the breath work, and I'm feeling more regulated now. I had available to me an awareness of what it's like for the body to feel more clear and centered and balanced. At those times, it started to become more obvious to me, this intuition, which before was so foreign to me. I really didn't understand when people would say they'd make intuitive decisions. I just didn't get it. I don't know how you could do that, right? But as I did this work, it became more and more clear. How I used it was continually being aware of my body throughout the day. Asking the question is, how am I feeling right now? What am I feeling in the body was really helpful because it helps me know when I'm in my center and off my center. It also helps me to understand when something is in resonance, which is what intuition is for me. When there's resonance, how that feels in the body. I became more and more aware. And as I could feel, for example, when it's a decision is in attunement or when it's in resonance, I feel it usually in my heart and my chest. Some people feel it in their gut. Some people feel it other places in their body, but I feel it in my chest, and I feel like an openness, an expansive energy. And when I feel that, for me, generally, it means a yes. And if I'm feeling a contracting energy, and it's a subtle contracting energy, not a stiff, not a hard one, right? But if it's a subtle contraction, then it's typically a no. But if it's a strong contraction, usually there's some sort of fear, some sort of emotion, something coming up. And I don't take that as a signal from my intuition. Yeah. What about you?
I actually, just the connection to my body, the day I met my body was a very enlightening day because I truly use my body. And for those of you who are listening and you may be new to this, I would really highly recommend something that I do every day. This is what I do. And it is, I call it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or around breakfast and lunch and dinner, which brings it to 3 times a day. I stop and I ask myself, I ask my body, how you doing? As if like you've seen a friend on the street and you stop and you're really interested to know. It's not a polite question that you're asking. You really are curious to know. And I stop, and then my body actually speaks beautiful sensational language and it tells me how it's feeling. So that allows the introduction to the body. That allows to say, hello, I'm here. Nice to meet you. My name is Mitra and you're my body. That introduction then allows all those advanced things that you were talking about. Now we know how to calm it down. Now we know how to ask it questions and run ideas and decisions by it and get some feedback from it. But the initial step, which I, to this day, after decades of practice, still need to practice it, is to just stop and say, how you doing, my friend? Tell me
Mm-hmm.
how you're doing. It's amazing how every time I ask that question, I get so much more information and I get ease immediately. It's just like when my body is seen, it relaxes into balance. When
Yeah.
I say, how are you doing? When I show interest, that immediately brings balance. And so that's what I do. I very simply do that. But for decision making, actually, you brought it more into my awareness that I'm now really using it. This is exactly what we used to do in the 70s, if you ever were alive then, that we would hold things in our hand and see what, if our body goes towards it or wants to reject it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we made decisions, what vitamin to take or what to eat. And I think that's a very simple and practical things that we can do to just check with it and see if body, as you called it, contracts or expands. That language is different and there's no formula that we can email it to you. I think you learn after connecting to your body, you learn the language of your body and you know. And the way to know it is to ask obvious questions. When you know, for instance, you're enjoying something, just say, am I enjoying it? And see whether it says yes or no. And what is yes and no? So you're establishing the language that your body speaks, because some people, and I've tried this with people that I work with, they would tell me, no, Mitra, my body says this is yes for me. And I said, trust that. That's true. It's not what I tell you. It is what your body tells you. So with the answers that you know, determine, so first connect to determine the language of yes and no, just the basic 0 and 1, and see which one is yes for you and which one is no. And then start very small. Ask simple things. Do I want to eat this or eat that? Should I go to um, this place that I'm invited to tonight, or stay at home? Start with things that don't matter that much. They're not consequential, and then go to larger questions and more important questions, and then see how that goes for you.
Yeah, it's an experimentation process,
It is.
and it's a process of discovery, and that's what it was for me. And it's not clean. Like, it was important for me to just be okay with making a quote unquote wrong decision, if my intuition chose something that was not didn't have the ideal outcome, it's okay. And to experiment and to realize that, developing your intuition it takes time. The more you do it, the more you try it, the more chances you give it, even when it's gone wrong, the more you're gonna start to recognize when is it really your intuition and when is it not. And it's like a muscle. It's like a muscle that develops over time. Yeah.
Yes, it does. I think this is a subject probably and a topic that we're going to touch on it more and more
Yeah.
as we go on, because it's a very deep subject. But for now, I think this was a great intro to just body awareness, understanding there's wisdom, the understanding that you really need a relationship with your body. You can't live in it. It's just like going to a country without connecting ever to anything to do with that country. Just think about it as a person who's lived around the world. The first thing I know is when I go to a new city or a new country, I get to know it, I connect with it, what's going on, what's important, what's not, what's pleasant, what's not. It's the same thing. We're occupying this place called my body, and that connection is of utmost importance, I think, to just see where it's going and what kind of relationship you have, if you have a relationship. And then the exchange that happens between the two of you is a tool for conscious living, gentle living, kind living. So
This was great, Mitra. I mean, every time we get into these conversations, I feel like there's so much for us to cover, so much for us to unpack. And we are going to, I imagine, get into some of these a little bit deeper in future episodes. And meanwhile, we are wishing you a beautiful day and week. Thank you. And thank you, Mitra.
thank you. And you let us hear from you. You tell us which one of these subjects you want us to go deeper on. We're open to going deep. We talk about so many subjects, as you said, Ben, but you tell us which ones are more important to you and you want us to really dig deep into. Until next time, take good care and ciao.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. For a list of the links and other resources referenced in this episode, check out the podcast description.
If you're benefiting from our podcast, we'd love if you could help us reach more people by subscribing. Your support means the world to us. From our hearts to yours, we thank you.